How'd your local school bond do this election cycle? I'm Charles Blaine, and this is Texas Tomorrow. I'm not going to beat around the bush or delay. This recent election cycle was really bad news for a lot of Texas school bonds. Houston ISD's $4.4 billion bond, the largest in state history, went down during early voting 60-40. Frisco ISD's bond for $1 billion died in each of the three propositions. One of the propositions even had 73% of people vote against it. Willis ISD's voters shot down a $115 million school bond for a new stadium, the third time they asked. Rockwall ISD voters shot down an $848 million school bond. Allen ISD voters approved two and shot down one. Birdville ISD rejected a $48 million school bond. Round Rock ISD passed three and killed one. It was truly a bad night across the Lone Star State for school bonds. And that means that it was a good night for Texas taxpayers. We can't say it enough. Bonds are simply deferred tax increases. Take Houston ISD's $4.4 billion school bond, for instance. It was sold to voters as not being a tax increase, despite the ballot language saying that it would. But what they don't break down for you is that when you take on that debt, it extends the life of the total amount of debt that your tax dollars pay back. So while it might not raise your tax rate immediately, or even at all, it certainly raises your tax burden, the amount that you have to repay. And school bonds traditionally have been one of the easiest things to pass. They're always for the kid, so who can vote against that? And people usually don't. But what ends up happening is these bonds are spent on nice to haves, not necessities. Big stadiums, atriums, swimming pools, and then the districts come back and ask for another bond or a tax increase to fund the necessities, new schools, safety upgrades, and things like that. It's not to say that these districts don't need some of these upgrades that they claim. In the case of HISD, they surely do need the upgrades. But they also sit on very hefty budgets that they can use, and they're on the heels of being awash with federal relief aid from during COVID. Consider this. Texas schools received more than $19 billion in elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund during COVID. In fiscal year 2023, schools issued a collective $22.8 billion in school debt, and as of that year, there was about $120 billion in outstanding school debt. You and me have to pay that back. So it's nice to see Texans waking up to the burdens of local debt and beginning to reject the premise. This state remains affordable when compared to some of our big state counterparts, but no thanks to the mounting local debt. Voters need to begin rejecting it not just at the school district level, but in cities, counties, MUD, special purpose districts, and the like, and not just requiring local jurisdictions to budget more effectively that forces budgetary needs to replace budgetary wants, but also to encourage them to pay down the debt that they already owe. Because as long as they have to service that debt, they're never going to reduce your tax burden, which is why you shouldn't believe them when they say that taking on new debt won't increase your taxes. It might be true on its face, but it's at best a sleight of the hand. And we know that local officials will say almost anything to get their way. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Texas Tomorrow. Please like, share, comment. And if there's something going on in your neighborhood, please let us know because we'd love to talk about it.